Italy squad for the Six Nations 2022. I think this might have been the first one that was released, and it's the last one I'm getting to, so apologies for the delay in getting to the Italy squad. Admittedly, it's the squad that I kind of struggle with the most traditionally in terms of keeping an eye on the players and where they're at, because I never really watched that much of Benetton and Zebre, which is where the bulk of the players play. I have been watching a little bit more of them in the URC in the year that was 2021, but still, I'm certainly more familiar with the Irish teams and the Welsh teams and whatnot, Scottish teams, than the Italian teams, which is my own fault. But I feel like I'm in a slightly better place than this time last year. But anyway, we'll go through the squad. I think it's 34 guys, which is the smallest of the squads. It's pretty young. There's a few new faces. There's a fairly lengthy injury list. You guys can let me know your thoughts. The first thing that you'll notice if you recognize many of these guys, the bulk of the squad is from Benetton. Like usually it's a split between Benetton and Zebre, the two Italian clubs in the URC, plus a handful of overseas guys. Well, Zebre is down to like 5 guys, and barring kind of one from Brieve, one at Newcastle, one at Montpellier, one at Bordeaux, Grenoble, and Gloucester. Pretty much the rest are from Benetton. So it's a good news, bad news thing in that guys who play for the same club already have that kind of chemistry between them, but it means in terms of depth, you're kind of limited to the guys that are coming from that one club. But anyway, we'll go through the squad. Fiver, Lucchese, and Nicotera are the hookers. Obviously, Bigi is the main guy who is the obvious omission. He was captain last year. He's your experienced guy. One of the top tacklers in Italian rugby in the Six Nations last year. Top tacklers of the competition overall, to be fair. They did mention it, and there was a press conference with Kieran Crowley with some of the Italian journalists. Fortunately for me, it seems Kieran Crowley's Italian is not that good enough that he can conduct a press conference in Italian, so it was largely done in English. I was kind of able to watch along for that. He basically said Bigi hasn't had much rugby in recent times, but he's still kind of open for his return. And Lucchese, he's only 21 years old. He's got 8 caps. He's been in cracking form for Benetton in the URC. With 8 caps, he's the most experienced guy of the 3 hookers. Fiver has got the 1 cap, although in terms of experience-wise, he's 27, and he's also been pretty good at URC level as well. So it's not a bad duo to have. And then Nicotera is your uncapped guy, although he is older than Lucchese. So all 3 guys from Benetton, essentially. So that's not something you see that often, but there you go. Props, Ciccarelli, Fischetti, Neymar, Pasquale, Traore, Zilocchi. The obvious name there that was missing is Riccioni. He was injured end of last year. Pretty bad one as well, because I've been watching him play for Saracens, and he'd been in cracking form. So that's a big loss. Ferrari is also unavailable, so they're kind of having to live with what props are available. Matteo Nocera is also not available, so they're missing 3 guys who could potentially prop the scrum. Zilocchi is the guy who probably needs to give away fewer penalties compared to what we saw last year. They're pretty young in terms of them all being in their 20s. The oldest one is Ciccarelli, who's 29, playing his rugby in Brieve. So, yeah. I hope they can do well at scrum time, but without Riccioni, I feel like it's weaker than it could have been, because I really rate him. I think he's a very classy player. Locks, Canone, Fusa, Ruzza, Sisi. Kind of four locks. They mentioned Fusa, who's not been playing a lot. I don't recall seeing him play much rugby for Newcastle, and I have been following the Premiership this year, so that's maybe a bit of a concern. Ruzza, I rate him as kind of a good ball-carrying lock. Again, I kind of wish I'd been watching more Benetton, but I do think he's a guy who generally puts in a pretty good shift. CC is one of your few Zebre guys in the squad. Like I mentioned, Favoretto is one of the guys who was named as unavailable due to injury, but I I hope Rutzer gets a start because I know he's kind of been in and out of the side, but you guys who are following Benetton will kind of be able to give us some more details. Loose forwards, Halafihi Lamaro, who is captain. Negri, Pitinelli, Stein, Zuliani. The 6 guys, they've kind of mentioned that Polledri is still unavailable due to injury. Maya is unavailable due to injury, and he was really good in the Six Nations last year. Giamarioli, I think they said his build-up's been a bit disrupted. And Crowley also talked about each guy kind of being a specialist for the most part in each position, saying he sees Negri and Pitinelli as his 6s, Zuliani and Lamaro as his 7s, and then Halafihi and Stein as his 8s. But with Stein as the guy, if there is going to be a guy who's going to kind of cover multiple, he'll cover all 3. Polledri is obviously a massive loss because I reckon, he's not just good for Italy, he's just good, in the scheme of things worldwide. When he's been fit, he's been out for such a long time now, but I'm a guy who loves stats, and that guy always has massive stats in terms of his tackle count and his defenders beaten, so that's a real shame that he's here. But Lamaro was also one of the top tacklers in the Six Nations last year, and Negri gets through a lot of carries. So, we'll kind of see what these guys are able to put in terms of that loose forward trio. Halfbacks, Brayley, Fusco, and Vani. I forgot to mention Zuliani is also uncapped along with Halafihi. So you got 2 uncapped guys there, although Halafihi is another one of those guys who's 28 years old, so he's not real young in terms of experience, but he's new on the scene to international rugby. None of those halfbacks are uncapped. Vani, I had a wee look at the Six Nations stats from last year. His handling errors were way too high, so if there's going to be an area for him to work on if he's going to get a start, that's one area that it needs to be. So I'm kind of keen to see who gets the starting job. They're all pretty inexperienced in terms of number of caps, but the fact that Vani's only 20 and Fusco's 22 kind of bodes well in terms of their being able to develop further. 10 is a really interesting one with Dare, Gabisi and Marin as your 3 guys. I think I've seen a bit of Marin playing for Benetton. I think he might have kicked a really clutch penalty to win them a game towards the end of last year. Gabisi's been playing in Montpellier, which is pleasing to see that he's only 21 and he's been getting some decent game time in the top 14. Dare, I can't remember seeing him at all. He's only 22, uncapped, and Crowley sees him as a 10, 15 or potentially wing cover. Apparently he's quite quick, so it'd be nice to see him get a chance. The fact that he's older than Gabisi is kind of crazy. 22 years old, he's the oldest of the 3. Marin is also uncapped. Tommaso Allen's obviously missing. I've heard 2 stories. One, Crowley said that he's not been playing much, so he wasn't considered for selection. But then I also heard in the commentary of a Harlequins game that Allen kind of wants to focus on his Quins career at the moment because he's just coming back from a long layoff. So either way, he's not in the squad. Likewise, Carlo Cana, who's been kind of 10, 12 in recent times. He's played a lot of minutes, so he is just conspicuous in his absence. But again, Crowley said the door is not shut on him. Midfielders, Brex, Maurici, Zanon. I think that's it, isn't it? Zanon is probably the guy who has been statistically been doing well. Although Brex, people say he's a bit slow, but he's been he cranked through a few run meters when he's able to get some ball in hand. Last year, I do rate Zanon. All 3 guys are Benetton guys. It's kind of one of the older areas of the squad, if you can believe it, with all the guys kind of 29, 30, and then 24 being the youngest. And then outside backs, Bruno, Ioane, Menoncello, Mori, Capuzzo, and Parovani. Mednozzi is one of the obvious omissions again, but he's been recovering from a knee injury, so he's not been playing a lot of rugby, so the door is not closed on him either. Capuzzo is a guy playing for Grenoble, so I haven't seen him play. I think that's in the D2 of France, but he gets a pretty good write-up, and Menoncello is only 19 years old, no caps for him. He's another one of your debutants. Ioane, in terms of stats, was glorious in the Six Nations last year. Italy's top try scorer, top defender, broken tackles guy, and just generally quite a threat. So I think he's dangerous, and likewise Mori as well. But yeah, we'll kind of have to see how they line up. In terms of the age is 24, almost 25 years old. So it's still on the young side of things. The Irish squad was the oldest. What was it, like 27? Most of the squads are kind of 25, 26. So 24, 25 it's on the young side. And then caps, 12, just over 12 caps is the average per player. Very much on the light side. You know, the most caps in the squad is Stain with 46, which is, yeah, like I mentioned, it's pretty low. And given it's a small squad with relatively high in terms of the number of debutants, it's, well, they asked him this question, is this a squad for kind of development? Well, he said it's a squad for the here and now, but also for the future. So make of that what you will. Expectations-wise, they kind of said about conceding less points was the focus. They also mentioned Sergio Parise, that he's had not much rugby, but is potentially going to come back as well at some point for his farewell game. So, yeah, we'll kind of see how things go. You guys let me know what you reckon about the squad. Like I said, they're missing a few props. And, yeah, a few of the experienced guys around fly half. But Garbisi, you gotta back him to do a job. I think there's some excitement in the backs. We just need to get these guys getting some go-forward ball. But it's definitely going to be easier said than done. They, if you look at some of the other squads, they're going to be up against it. But I wish them well. We'll see how they go in terms of the Six Nations. I do hope they're able to kind of get a bit more competitive. And, yeah, we'll see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the squad. How do you reckon these guys are going to go? Are they going to be really up against it, or can you see them surprising us? Kieran Crowley's Italian doesn't seem all that flash, but I have no ear for it, so you guys will have to let me know how he's going. But as I said, most of his press conference was done in English. Anyway, you guys have any thoughts, and I will talk to you again soon. See you later.